All right, so here I want to, so my body is still. I have no energy. I want to go. I pick up. I didn't have to kick him. My energy, my body lifted up, and now I'm about 2 inches higher in my saddle, and my seat's off the back of my saddle. So here, now if I want to turn to the right here, and I want to liven up to a trot, I'm just going to pick my energy up just a little bit here, and we'll pick up to a nice smooth trot. And he'll check things out here. Now I'm gonna slow my energy down, and I'll ask him to stop. Now my hand is lifting just a little bit. Now I'll just ask him to bring that left foot back a step there and get square, front feet square. And now my energy's out. Now my energy's back in. Energy out. Now I didn't give him enough time, so I'll use my hand to stop him and bring him back. So those are the things when you're riding, you take your energy up and you put them down. Now that's no different than when I start working with these cattle. I'm going to do the same thing. What I want with my cattle, when I have my energy up and I have life in my horse and things are going, I want my cattle to be ready to respond to that. And then when I take the energy out, or when I get up their side just a little bit, I'll start getting their eye, and I'll start slowing their feet down and their body down, their front feet down. So that's what the same thing with the horsemanship is going to happen with the cattle. With so much of the things that we've learned with cattle handling, the two things that are most prevalent are flight zone and balance point. And you've all heard those terms. Flight zone is when you penetrate the flight zone, the animal flees. That's what flight zone is. And that's the same thing would happen when that pack of wolf comes in there. When they penetrate the flight zone, or their mind comes from what they were doing before to the wolf, they make a decision to flee. And that's, yes, sir, I got a cat at my house, and I got my cow dogs, and my cats and my cow dogs, they're friends, my cat. And they stay in the house, and they might even eat out of the same bowl. Yesterday, or day before yesterday, I was riding out through the pasture with my dogs, and a cat jumped up out of the grass and took off running. And my pup, he took off. He was chasing him. And that cat barely got up a pole. So that whole thing, when animals run, it kicks something in, and you almost can't stop that chase. So that's really important to understand. So flight zone, when we create flight, that's almost a negative thing. So we've used it to teach flight zone. Temple was great at using that word. But really, let's call it something else. Let's understand flight zone. But now let's refine it. Let's call it pressure zone. And the pressure zone is when you apply pressure to the animal and they move away from that pressure, and you can make it an extreme pressure or a proper pressure that gets them to think their way out of the pressure. When an animal thinks his way out of the pressure, he learns and retains it. When they react their way out of pressure, you have to have repetition and do things over and over again. So by me just getting up and when he thinks his way out of that pressure, it's a low pressure. And he can respond to that pressure without fleeing, but moving out right. Now if I took my Rommel and just whipped him down the leg, when his head was over that way, I'm going to get a whole different response. And so we've got to have a pressure zone rather than a flight zone. Big difference. The next thing that we talk about a lot is balance point. And balance point, defined in the book, is when you get behind the shoulder, the animal, and put pressure, the animal moves forward. If you get in front of the shoulder, the animal turns or stops. And that's the falsest statement ever made. And that's, in that chute right there, it's probably true. But if we have a bunch of cows here, in this pen right here, and we have a bunch of calves over there in that pen a quarter of a mile away, and the calves are bawling over there, and their mothers are here, and we open that gate right there, where is the balance point on those cows? Is it in front of the shoulder? No, it's a quarter of a mile over there at those calves. They're going to run right through you and get to those calves. So it's not about the body, it's about the mind. You see, it's about the mind, and if you can get the mind and put it on their feet, that's what we're going to do. That's why I try to stop the front feet. So balance point is always changing, and we've got to read that. And the better trained, like with me, with this horse, now he's 15 years old, I hear. If on his first ride 13 years ago, when you pulled back on the reins, if you just pulled back like that, 13 years ago, he'd have run off through him because he didn't understand where the balance point was. And actually, by pulling back on the reins, it scares him and runs off. So somebody had to teach him how to react to that pressure, so the balance point with the horse is right at the bit. That's where the balance point is there. So we're always changing the balance point. But if a horse is running off, if your horse is running away from you and you're pulling on the reins here and he runs through the bit, his mind is out there where that bucket is. And I'm pulling back here. So you got to get his mind. That's why you double one. That's why you circle him, so you can get his mind back on his body. Then you can stop him with two reins again. Same thing with our cattle. We're going to always try to get to where we can get the balance point more where we want it. Okay, let's go ahead and let these guys on out. And what I'm going to do, any questions or comments on some of the horse stuff or the four-wheeler stuff? Now here's a trick for you. So when you're riding a four-wheeler or side-by-side, and there's a herd of cows here, and I gotta go to the other side, instead of turning towards the cattle, turn away from them. Turn away from them and make a figure eight back. Now come to the other side of the herd over here, turn back this way, and go. Don't turn into the cattle. Because when you turn into the cattle, it speeds up this side, because like with a horse, if I'm here, I can stop my horse and I can back him up and make the turn, and I don't invade the pressure zone. But here, if I turn this way, I speed this side up, and they don't have anywhere to go, and they split out that way. And so when you're driving with a four-wheeler or side-by-side, by turning like you do with a horse, you're actually causing your cattle not to drive right. So just kind of be observant of those things. Now what I want to have happen here is when I get a hold of these cattle, or when these cattle come out, I want to take a hold of them and get them to where I can stop their feet from the front. I'm going to get out here where I can get out of the way. And what my goal is today is to get these cattle to where they can feel comfortable in a bunch and want to bunch up. So here, this Brockle face, now as she starts to trot off, I'll just step out here. They don't even see me yet, now they do. The one does, and they're just gonna check things out. But I'm gonna stay out here in front of these cattle to where I can start getting their feet slowed down and stopped. Now here again, I'll step back here, that's perfect. Now I'm just gonna watch my herd and figure out where I need to be to get their feet stopped. Like right here, this Brockle face, she's gonna leave me right here, this little one here. So I'll step over here and I'll get her to look at me. Stop your feet. Now here, this black Brockle face, I'll stop her feet. Front feet. Now the Hereford looking out, I'm gonna stop her feet. Now I want her to turn and look at me, just like that. Now I'm asking her to look at me. Now see, I got my herd split. So these guys are saying go that way. These guys are saying going that way. Now this black heifer is going to come around here, and I'm going to ask her to stop. And I'll just hold up my bunch. I really think all cattle, not just cattle that have predators, all cattle these days need to be able to be rodeered or held up in a group. And so much of the time we're so in a hurry to get cattle to the corral, we never stop them. Now I'm going to turn my horses back to them. Same as I would have with the four-wheeler, just because I was a little too close. Now here I'm going to have to roll. I want to get them away from the fence. So I'm going to roll these guys on around. I'll roll these guys, and I'm going to roll the outside around. You'll watch here. This outside is going to roll around. They got to get by the crowd. They're going to roll around here, and before they get a head of steam up, I'm going to stop them and hook them on. I'm a little bit late, but I was just right. And I'll stop them here again. Now I want them to stop and look at me. There, like that. You got to stop. Good. I'll stop her and take a little pressure off. Just quit looking at her. Now she couldn't take it, see, she's got to go. So I'll ask her to turn and look at me again by there. And by getting her to turn and look at me, I'm just riding forward so she wants to see me at the outside eye. I'll get this one that's looking at you guys. I'll ask her to look at me out of her left eye. See right there? Right there. Now she should turn here and look at me. She's going to do it. I know it. With her right eye. There. See? And I can just position myself and I'll ask her to look at me and then just ride on. And I'm going to get these guys real comfortable at just getting their feet still. Good. Now I'm going to ask them to leave. So now I'm going to ask this Hereford heifer in the back, turn. I want to get them all to turn and look at each other or just bump into each other and start up this way. And as soon as they start, I'm going to come over here and ask them to stop. You got to stop. Whoop, 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 whoop. Good. I don't want the corner to stop them. I want to stop them. There, I'll draw that black heifer's eye. There. Good. Now I'm going to send them out towards the center again. So now we're learning to start and stop. So I'll just get a little drift going out here in the front, and I'll send some cattle with them. I'm going to send the 2 leaders. I'll get my drift, my draw. Now I believe I can go up on this outside, speed the right side of the cattle up just a little bit. I'll speed the right side of the cattle up, which will cause them to turn to the left. Now I can trot up, and now watch these cattle are going to start turning and looking at me, and that'll stop their feet. So I'll stop. I want this red heifer to look at me. Good. And I'll stop their feet. Step back, step out. Now I can just come around this. I'm just going to ask them if I can just ride around them here. And I'll just try to circle around them here. And I'll just watch my cattle. And if I see like that red heifer, she's starting to leave, I'll just go put her back. I'm going to ask her to get back in the bunch, and I'll turn her back not too fast. That was a little faster than I wanted. Now here I'm going to stop, turn my horse back, and I'll go the other direction here. And I'll just trot around here and circle to the right. Might even lope if I have to. I'm kind of late out here. But I'll just circle these guys around. Circle these guys around, good. Now I'll bring this bunch, these 3 back in. Should be able to start back over this direction. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get these guys to learn that if they'll stand and look out at me there, I'll leave them alone. Good. Now that's what I want when I stop my cattle out in the middle of a pasture or in a lot or whatever. This is what I'd like my cattle to shape up and do. Now if I want them to graze, they can put their head down and start grazing in a group. If I want them to leave and I want to move them, say I want to take them back to that corner, I can start here, send that brockle face that's wanting to go somewhere. I'm going to send her, that 88 calf, I'm going to send her up in the corner. She's my lead. She's my lead. The other one's trying to stop her. I'll send her off. There, I'm going to send her to the corner, and now I'm going to send these cattle with her. Good. Now that gives me a place where I can stop my cattle and start them in the direction I want them to go. Now I'm going to take them out of this corner here, so I'll speed my left side up here. I'll speed the left side of my herd up, which will cause them to push out of that corner. They got to push out of that corner. And now I'm going to draw the right side. So I'm going to get down in behind their eye, and it should draw them out to the right. See how this brockle face, this Hereford heifer, now it went on across, and that'll give me room enough. And now I'm going to speed up around here, send my left side over, send the left side on around, and now bring the right side, and now I should be able to come right on out and ask them to stop in the center here again and wait for me to wonder what to do. So now I'm training my cattle to respond out here in the pasture or in the lot. And what I like to do, and in Texas, they all lead cattle. If you're going to change pastures, if you're going to change pens in a feedlot or whatever, they lead cattle. And they get those cattle really hooking on to the leader. And then he stops, and everybody watches that are driving, and they stop, and the cattle stop. And if they want to go that way, the leader, the lead boss, whoever's leading them, he goes that way, and the cattle follow him. So they can control them from the front and the back. But you see, when you get cattle that you can stop and put them in a place, no different than my horse here, when I stop riding, take the energy out and take my hand down on my neck, he knows to stay here. I don't have any energy on those cattle now. They should learn to stay there. Now I'm going to ask him to go this way this time. So here I can approach from this side. I'll come in a little closer because I got to send this side around just a little bit. I'm going to send the left side around, send these guys around. They got to be able to switch eyes to do this. And now I can start my right side, and I'm going to send them more over towards the front of the chute. So if I speed this side up over here, speed this side up, now bring the left side. It's like driving a team. If you're driving a team straight, both sides are going even. If you're driving a team in a circle, the right side is going faster than the left side if you're going to the left side circle. So I got to speed the right side up, step them on over. Now I'm just going to ask these guys to drift forward to them. Drift forward to them. Drift forward. Drift forward. So I'll switch eyes. I'm going to ride right through her eye. She should come out on this other eye, and that should stop her feet. Now, by those going in and bumping, it created a little bit of movement. So now I just got to ride up their side. They should turn and look at me. Baldy, turn and look at me with your left eye. Come on, you got to quit looking at that. Look there. And that's when I'd say, okay, that's what I wanted. You've acknowledged me. Okay, so that's getting cattle to stop and wait for you. Now I want cattle to start stringing. And I'm going to go ahead and just step out of here for a second. If we bought these cattle at a sale barn, or a bunch of calves, we put a bunch of calves together, or you wean a bunch of calves and take them off their mother and put them in this pen overnight, what would they probably do? Most likely they'd walk the fences. They'd walk the fences and bawl. And what happens when cattle start walking the fences, they're looking for their mother or they're looking for a way back to their mother. So they, and you see what happened there is the black baldy started out, or the red baldy, and then everybody else followed along with them. And so when cattle are walking the fences like this, you got, we'll say that Brockle face there is the leader. And we turn them out in the pen, and she said, I'm going to go find my mother. And she starts walking around the outside to see if she can find a gate open. Well, there's 11 more behind her, and the one behind is pushing her. So she's walking around here, she makes about 3 laps. She says, my mother isn't out there, there's no gates open, I can't get to her, I'd sure like to stop, but that heifer behind me keeps pushing me. And the heifer behind her keeps pushing her, and so you got this movement, a draw and a drive. The one's drawn, the one in front's drawing, the one behind is pushing, the one in front of that one is being driven by the one behind, and you got 12 head of cattle creating this energy that you can't stop. It just keeps going. And if you don't, they'll go 3 days sometimes walking the fences unless you stop them up and check that movement up. So it's a real dynamic movement. I call it the leader-follower. And if we'll learn to use that to our advantage, if we always start the lead and get the rest of the herd to follow, then you're not driving cattle, you've got that leader-follower movement. But when you start cattle from the back and the lead isn't going and you start shoving on them, the pressure goes out like this. And then you're always having to put it back in. And then you're driving cattle. And that takes a lot of energy and a lot of work. But if the leader is going somewhere and you're pointing her that way, and you're just sending cattle with it, you've created your own dynamic of movement. When I work in feed yards, if you're trying to pull a pen, so many people, they'll go back to a lot of times they'll shove cattle to the feed bunk to try to bounce them off the feed bunk and get them to bounce back to the gate. Because they can't push them from the back, especially fat cattle. They just get where you can't push them. Or they just go in the back and make as much noise as they can and try to shove everybody out. But if you'll open that gate there and let an animal see the gate open, and you stay right at the gate, and you just take that one out, and then the next one you set that, see, and pretty soon you can empty the whole pen from right there at the lead, just by sending cattle to the leaders. So that's what we want to try to do with our cattle handling and our work. So everything I do out here, I want to get these cattle where they'll string. And so when you're driving cattle, there's always a leader. So she might be the lead. So I'm going to send old 88, and I'll get her position, and I'll start her out from the front of the herd. I don't go around to the back of the herd. I'm going to start from the front. We'll take the black heifer. She's going to be our lead. And now we're just going to create this movement. The black's drawing, the red's pushing. I'm just sending the movement all up and down through this herd. I'll send this heifer here. And now my mind, I'm at the back of the herd, but my mind's on the front. I'm still trying to get that black heifer started. Now I'm going to just start sending cattle to her. She's my lead. She's my lead. I'm watching where she's going, and I'm sending cattle to her. I'll just send cattle to her. Now I might have a different lead. The lead could always be changing, but if I want cattle to drift and move, I want to create this drive, draw. Drive, draw. Very good. So now I'll ask him to step off again. Now I want him to turn to the left, so I'll make the red Baldy my lead. So I'm going to send her around, and I'll get the rest of these guys to follow her with her. Now I got a different lead because I changed the size of my cattle. That other Baldy's my lead. She's leading them, and I'll just keep cattle sending her. Her ears are forward, drawing cattle. These are sending her on. Now I'm going to ask them to stop before they get to the corner. So I'll just ride up their side, have them come and look at me. I want her to turn and look at me. Come on. You got to turn and look at me. Like that. Now I'm going to send her right on around, and we'll take them over by the chute. Now I've kind of taken a lot of movement out of these guys. They had a lot in there at the start, and now I've taken quite a bit out. So we'll just go ahead and set them over there by the chute. Now I can see behind, my lead is going good, and my back, I'm getting a little too far forward on my herd. I got to step back behind the balance point to send these forward. When you ride up their side, you got to be aware of what you're doing to the back of the herd. Now I'm going to send these around the corner. Send these guys around the corner. Good. And now I'll just send these on up. Now they're starting to feel good about the pressure. I'll send them up to I'm going to see if I can get them just to go up and touch that Pearson chute. So I'll just send a leader. I've got to send a leader from there. Good. I'll just keep working back and forth here. I can't get out too far because I'll draw them out this way. I'll send. As soon as these guys look like they're all bumping each other and getting ready to go, like right here, they're not, now it's time to step out here so I can be in a position to put their head towards that chute. Whoop, 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 like that. Good, now I'll just ask, I don't want them to go out around it, I'll ask them to come right to it. Good. Step them forward. We'll just mess around with this here just for a second. And I'm just going to try to keep their mind pointed where I want it to go. Somebody's got to go up and touch that thing. Now this is good. Now we're getting there. See? Now they're getting brave. There's the first one to touch it. So put them where we want to put them. Kind of hold them up there. Now she's kind of fine doing her own thing. Now I'd like to be able to ride off from these guys and have them stay where they're at. Supposed to be. And let's see here. We'll put them in this gate right here. Now, a lot of folks that want to open this gate out, I want to open it in. And I better put these things over here so. Okay, so if you put the gate out, which will make a little bit of a wing, but if I need to come up here and create my leader, I can't get there to him. So I'd rather have the gate in. I'd rather not have that over there either, but I got it. So here we'll start these guys, and I'll get them stringing. And we'll just, now again, I'm coming to the back, but the reason I'm coming to the back is I got to get everybody looking the same direction. So I'm not pressuring them to go yet. What I want to do is get them all pointed the same direction here. Now that they're all pointed the same direction, it doesn't take anything to drive them. If they're all messed up and not pointed the same direction, I can't hardly drive them. It takes a lot more energy. Now I'm gonna speed up the right side just a little bit and draw the left side over. So the right side, I'm speeding them up. The left side stopped. Now I'll send the left side on up. Step back to my right side. I just got to get my left side far enough by the end of that chute so they don't miss where I'm at. So now here I can step up in here and I'll create my lead, send old Hereford here, and I'll just keep working these cattle forward so I can get in a spot where I can put enough pressure on to get them to step up in that gate. So again, I'll step here, I'll bring this right side over. Now I might roll them right on around so I get a little movement, and then I'll just bring the left side right on up here, and that positions me to be where I can keep that movement flowing right on forward. And I'll just, now my mind is on my lead, even though I'm behind them, my mind is on my lead, and I'll just keep that pressure flowing right on in. I never looked at my back cattle. My mind was on the front the whole time. And the reason that is as soon as you put your mind on the hind cattle, you're putting pressure on them, they have nowhere to go, and they squirt out the side. So with your mind on the lead, you're still putting energy and pressure on the lead to keep him walking forward, even though I'm not there. And then you're keeping the back ones coming in and following. As soon as that one turns back and goes out, that leader knows it immediately. And he gets suspicious and is not going to go. So this is all real easy for all of us when we're by ourselves. But what about when you get a crew? Here's what I find when we're working with crews. Four-wheelers, horses, on foot, whatever. When you're out in the big country, everybody's an excellent stockman and uses really good pressure. When we get the cattle bunched up and we come to a spot like this, now we don't know how to work as a group. And then we start using overpressing the animals in lots of different spots. And so we don't know how to pressure in the right spot, so we just make a lot of noise and a lot of motion. And sometimes that works and the cattle force into the hole. But they didn't decide to go in there, they were forced to go in there. But right there, you saw those cattle decided to go in that pen. They decided. And when they decide to go in, they don't want to come out. But you force cattle in with a lot of force and a lot of noise and a lot of pressure, they're going to look for a way out of there. They're not going to like it in there. And the reason they don't like it is because they were stepping on each other's feet. When we put cattle tight in our corral situations or spots where they don't have room, what happens is, and here's something that I've always wanted to talk to Lily about this and see what she thinks about. This is cowboy science. So the way I look at a horse or a cow or animals, they have a thinking side of their brain and a reacting side of their brain. When an animal's on the thinking side of their brain, like these have been, they're thinking their way out of pressure and they learn from it, like I said earlier. The other side is the reacting side of the brain. And when an animal's on the reacting side of their brain, they can't think, they react to pressure, and that's what we call survival mode. The thinking side, I call it the growth side of the brain. And when an animal, I hear a lamb. Nice. When an animal's on the thinking side of their brain, we call that growth. They're thinking about what to eat. They're thinking about where to ground, lay down. I started my grounding story. So many years ago, I was in Hawaii working, and they had these beautiful grazing cells. Hawaii's beautiful. It's like Ireland. And they have this beautiful grass. And so I'm going to let these cattle out, and I'll just stop them in the center again. So I would drive by this place, and the water lot was dirt like this. And there's water, and there's kind of a manure pile. It's been there for years. Those cattle, when they got done grazing, they go lay in that water lot on the dirt. Another time, I was in South Dakota at a bison ranch, and we were at this buffalo place, and we were on a prairie dog town, and there's no grass, but it was almost like the buffalo had electric fence around them, around the prairie dog, and all the bison were laying on the prairie dog town. It was bare dirt. I watch my little herd of cows or yearlings or whatever, and they'll always find bare ground to lay in after they're done grazing. Now the other day it had rained, and the grass is wet, and they were all laying on the grass, where they normally would have been laying around the water hole in some dirt. So I'm fascinated by that. I think that's really fascinating. I think cattle really like to have the right place to lay and ruminate. And when I see them, when they're ruminating, chewing their cud, I see they're on a spot, bare ground or somewhere where they really like. You want to, we better not give you a drink with your bridle on. All right, I'll ask these guys to walk out. Now I'm going to ask these guys to come out of here, and I'll create a lead. I kind of did a little too much with Blackie. Now there's my lead. Now here's my followers. And I can just step back and give some room. And you see, that makes them feel good. They like to have pressure put on and taken off. Good, see? So cattle don't mind going in a corral. So back to my story about stepping on their feet. Man, my stories are everywhere. So the thinking side of the brain, the reacting side of the brain. So when we put cattle in a corral or on a truck or on a scale or whatever, they get tight and they start stepping on each other's cornet bands. And when you see cattle start stepping on their cornet bands, what do they start doing? That will change them from thinking to reacting quicker than anything I've seen. And so when you see cattle in a scale or in a trailer or in an alley that's too tight, what do they do? Start doing? Jumping up on each other's backs. And that's trying to get out of that pressure of the cornet band stepping on. And they hate that. They can't stand it. And that's when cattle get really wild and they go from thinking to reacting. And I just was at a limousine place last week, and the limousine breed has really changed their cattle. They've really changed the temperament of their cattle. But back in the day in the 70s, when I was around a lot of cattle buying and weighing and things, if you got those limousine cattle stirred up like that in the 70s, and Solaire's were even worse. If you got them like that, they could be across the alley and jump and kick your ear off and not even think anything about it. They were athletic cattle. The more athletic cattle are, the quicker the switch from thinking to reacting. So back to the bucking bulls I was talking about.